Mesdames et messieurs, bonjour.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to this workshop regarding the ICMS, which is the English acronym for International Construction Measurement Standards. So this standard, I have to move forward by a few slides to start with, is translated in a very Franglish way by the Code de Mesurement International. Now, the questions we're raising is what standards for the future? It was created under the aegis of 3 professional associations and pretty much 2 years ago exactly in Washington, D.C. So this is a picture of the different members of the panel who will intervene later on. This standard, as I said, was created under the aegis of 45 professional organizations in Washington at the IMF 2 years ago on the 1st of June 2015. And today there are 90 to 100 different countries which in the meantime have adhered to this association. Why develop an international measurement standards? We haven't found an equivalent French term, so we had to coin one basically. Well, on the one hand, to reassure our clients, customers, of course, because a lot of foreign investors, when they want to build any type of building or estate, find themselves confronted to a variety of meters, descriptive flyers or norms, and that gives them a hard time, basically, in order to compare fairly the prices, the realizations available to them, and basically assess the chances of success of their investment. And the other reason is that there are some countries which simply do not have such set of standards or measurement codes, including the developing countries, of course. And this could be a real issue in order to foster our cooperation with those countries. So that was all in guise of an introduction. You should know that UNTEC is the only French organization which is a member of this worldwide organization. And now I shall give the floor to my colleagues coming from all over the rest of Europe. Derek comes from Ireland, lives in Switzerland. The next ones are Irish colleagues, and then on my left an English colleague. And all of them are working together basically to make sure this project can mature and follow its course. We're going to attend another conference next month already, hopefully welcoming them in Paris in the context of the UNTEC Congress. So now, without further ado, I shall give the floor to, who should we start with? What do you think? From left to right. Derek, would you like to start by saying a few introductory words on yourself, please? Maybe they need headsets.
My name is Gerard O'Sullivan. I'm a quantity surveyor who worked all my life in Ireland. I've been a delegate for the Irish delegation on CWC since a very long time, since 1998. And in the year 2001, 2002, Jacques Moreau, who was then president of CWC, introduced an idea of having a common form of reporting costs. And we prepared and introduced the European Code of Measure, which we had published and ready around 2003. 10 years later, the idea of making it an international idea in the ICMS came into being, and I worked tirelessly with all the other groups around the planet. We met the PAQS, which is the Pacific Association of Quantity Surveyors. We've met FIG, we've met all sorts of bodies, and all of them have bought into this idea of working with an international construction measurement standard, which will give us all, I suppose, a means of understanding each other in a simplified way, and it is a simplified way. I am on the Standards Committee, and the Standards Committee have nearly completed their work. We hope to have it all finished by the end of next week, and the standards hopefully will be ready for publication at the end of the month.
Thank you, Jerry. Bonjour, Madame, Monsieur. My name is Le Suis Creon Swakhoven from the Netherlands. I'm a quantity surveyor or economics of construction for more than 25 years and specialized in the design phase of the construction. I'm a member of the NVBK, it's the Dutch UNTEC, you say, but we are almost as big as you. We are 163 members. almost as old, 43 years. I'm a member of the CEC committee since 2013, where I met all those guys. And I'm a trustee of the ICMS since last year. And maybe like you all, we are struggling with codes and classifications all our life. Everybody has his own opinion. Some things are there, some things are there, but we never speak to each other with the same language. Even in Holland, in the small country, we don't speak the same language. It's very difficult. So I was very happy to hear about IPMS first, and later on, of course, ICMS, and I support it with all my heart, and I hope it will make it and will grow on the world, and so we can talk to each other, also with BIM and other automation stuff. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Derek Hill. I'm a chartered quantity surveyor with RICS Europe, and I'm a partner in ECAS AG, which is based in Switzerland. Although raised in Ireland, I've spent most of my career in Switzerland and working throughout all of Europe. Oh, sorry. Give that another try. Sorry, my name is Derek Hill. I'm a chartered quantity... Oh, there we go. Okay. I'm a chartered quantity surveyor with RICS Europe, and I've spent my career throughout Europe and based in Switzerland itself. And I'm a partner in ECAS AG. So keep that short.
Justin. So, good morning. My name is Justin Sullivan. I'm a chartered quantity surveyor. I'm a fellow of the RICS, and I'm the current General Secretary of the CEEC, or at least for the next 4 hours when I stand down and I think Creon will take over. I'm a trustee for ICMS. I attended the event in Washington. I'm on the left next to Pascal in the photograph. We often get asked, why ICMS? Why do you do this? And that's a very good question. That I can put that into some context with an answer from an experience I had whilst working abroad. I was sitting in Dubai. We were building a tower block, and the client was Indian, and the quantity surveyor was Indian, and I was acting as project monitor from the UK. And the quantity surveyor, he gave me his cost plan, and before I opened the cost plan, I didn't even turn the front cover. I said, this is not good enough. And he said, why? You've not looked at it. And I said, it's not what I'm expecting. And the client looked at me and said, how do you know? I said, because it's only 3 or 4 pages big. How can that be enough for a cost plan for a tower block? And my client said, well, what is the standard? What is the standard globally for cost planning in construction? And I answered, there isn't one. And he looked at me, he just didn't understand why we don't have a common standard for construction costs globally. But we do now, and we're going to hear about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. You are also in the World Board of RICS. And you have also a code of measurement in RICS. So could you briefly, each people, explain if you have a current standard in your country, and briefly explain it will be works with ICMS.
Thank you, Pascal. I have a slide which will illustrate this. So within RICS, we have a number of standards that our members are supposed to and do adhere to. So you will see there at the bottom left, there's land. The bottom right is property, which is IPMS. IPMS is a global coalition of property professionals who measure property the same way. So I think there's over 90 countries now that are involved in this and do it that way. Above that, there's international valuation standards, and then there's construction, which at the moment is blank because we are in the process of putting that in place as being part of the ICMS coalition?
In Ireland, we have a national measurement system called, it's based on the Scandinavian system, the SFB system, which was brought into being in the 1970s. It was the first attempt to have an internationally agreed system of cost reporting and elemental system. And one of the beauties of what we're doing at ICMS is we're developing a standard at high level that will allow the adaptation of your own national system of elemental system within the cost reporting system. So if you're using a French system or using a UK system or the Irish system, they can all are compatible with the ICMS process we're using. So I'm hopeful that when it comes to working in Ireland, that we will have no difficulty adapting the ICMS to what we already do in Ireland and the way we use the SFB system. So that's the beauty of what we're doing.
Thank you. In the Netherlands, we have also a national code, a local code. It's the NEN 2699. And the NEN is something similar like the NF here in France, I think. It's all the same based on the SFB code from Sweden. It's older, it's from 1974, actually. But it stopped. We stopped maintaining it in Holland in '91, and that's when the NEN committee took over. But the 80%, 85% is still the same elementary based code, mainly used in the design phase of the construction. Just when you think about functions, not materials yet, because when you go to the material, when you go to the construction phase. Then it matters what the stairs are made from, steel or concrete or wood. But in the design phase, it doesn't matter. It's function stairs. We have a lot of other codes, but they are not 100% compatible with the NEN 2699. And I think the main code will adapt perfectly in the ICMS with a few minor adjustments. And we will hope it works that way.
Yep. Thank you. And at the moment in Switzerland, we have 3 methods of cost reporting, each being a mix of elemental and primarily is what we would use. But unfortunately, with 3 methods, the banks themselves are also getting quite confused as to which way the cost report should be presented to the client, to the bank, to the investor, and so on. So we're hoping that through ICMS and its global perspective, we'll be able to fit seamlessly our own system into ICMS. And already we're making steps in ECAS to make that possible for our clients to adapt fully to a global perspective. And with ICMS, we hope to achieve that, because at the moment, learning 3 different systems with 3 different programs is quite time-consuming and obviously inefficient in its sense. So we're hoping to streamline that with ICMS's input.
Thank you, Derek. So everyone think a conversion is possible in each country. Okay. Donc, comme il l'a dit, Derek, par exemple, comme il l'a expliqué Derek.
So as Derek just said and explained to us, and I also hinted at in guys a preamble, the purpose and the aim of this international measurement code is basically to make sure that we can reassure all of our customers or stakeholders, rather than having to juggle with 3 different national codes, for example. And it is time for me now to give the floor to
coalition follow.
Thank you, Pascal. So the model followed the same model of IPMS, International Property Measurement Standards. And if I could draw your attention to the screen, you will see 2 photographs. The photograph on the left are the founding trustees of ICMS. So these are heads of global institutions, professional institutions who are for public benefit, not for profit, professional institutions. So we have the Canadians there, American, there's Singapore, there's England, there's Ireland, there's many of them. It has grown now to 45 institutions covering over 90 countries. So we formed at the IMF in May 2015, so it's not long ago, it's almost 2 years exactly. The first thing we did was that the trustees that you see there, we were asked to put forward the best in class we have professionals to write the standard. That's what we were asked to do. We received 27 people. We were hoping for maybe 10. So we asked the institutions, go away, come back with less people. That's too many. You cannot write an international standard using 27 people. It won't work. So they came back with 28 people. So we decided, okay, we'll go with that number. So that was our standard setting committee. And if you look at the photograph on the right, you will see our standard setting committee at the first live meeting which they held in the European Parliament. So the reason we have the two photographs is to illustrate how we keep the two things separate. So I'm a trustee of ICMS. I did not see the standard, what it looked like, until it was launched publicly. And the reason is because we keep the politics out of the standard setting writing. So it just that we get the best standard for the international market, that we're not creating a standard that is particularly relevant to a jurisdiction such as the United Kingdom or China or America. So we have, on trustees, we have a chairman. Our chairman is an American. He's the chap who chaired and led international financial reporting standards, so IFRS. Post the global financial crisis, IFRS was launched, and now anywhere on the planet, a balance sheet looks the same. So that chap left that organisation and he joined the RICS, and he now leads, he's chair of our coalition for ICMS and IPMS. The chair of the Standard Setting Committee is Xilian Ong from Hong Kong. He's a Chinese national. He's an ex-president of the RICS, and he's led the Standard Setting Committee. As Jerry said, Jerry is a member of that. So we managed to produce within 1 year an international standard for construction. I was part of the RICS NRM project. That took 6 years. So it's quite an achievement that's happened, and I would encourage you to have a look at the website and tell us what you think. Thank you, Pascal.
Thank you, Justin. Now I have a question for you, Jerry. Nous allons rentrer dans le vif du sujet. Could you show us an example, Jerry?
Okay, if we can move the next slide on. Yes, this is just to give you some idea of what level we're working at. Apologies, it's in English. I could give you, I suppose we can distribute some French translations later, but the idea of this project is to allow us cost report all forms of construction, not just buildings. There are roads, tunnels, railways, airports, all forms of construction. So the first principle is to report costs at high level. And we identify a project, a construction project, and we identify a category of construction that's involved. So if you see on the far left column, there is a list of projects which can be from buildings to railways, to tunnels, to roadways. And we recognize that some projects will be a combination of a number of different types of project. And the idea will be that when you cost report, if you have, say, a building plus a railway, plus a roadway and a bridge, you will cost report each type of project separately first, and then give the total cost of the project. And under the second part, you have a breakdown of the cost categories. So in construction, you have the direct cost that you pay your contractor, your constructor, his costs, And then the client still has to pay the designers, he still has to pay the legal fees, he still has to pay for the site. All the other costs that arise are what we call associated costs, and they are put in a separate category. But the important thing is to say to people that you must report both costs, because ultimately, when you give a total cost for a project, the client needs to know what exactly is committed, how much money, because as we know, construction is quite an expensive process, and governments particularly need to know what it is costing them, not just the direct cost they pay to the contractor. After we get through the construction costs and the associated costs, at the next level we have brought in a level 3 cost groups, which are very simplified breakdown of the costs. There is probably about, under the construction costs, we have about 10 items, cost groups, and under the associated costs, maybe 5 items. For example, we have substructures, structure, architectural completions, the services. They are simplified systems. And the reason why we've used that system is to allow your national systems to be adapted easily into the process. That's why we didn't force people to bring on board a more complicated system. But we also, at level 4, provide, if your country doesn't have a elemental system or a breakdown system for your costs, or further detailed breakdown, we've provided an example that you can use. It's not mandatory on anybody to use it, but it's provided as an example of a cost breakdown. So there are lots of countries that we know in the world who have no cost reporting standards at all. And what we are doing is giving them the level 4 system to say, here is a system that will work or help you to work. But at the same time, if it's in Ireland, I know we will use this system and we will adapt it to our current elemental system that we use. The project at this stage, you want me to tell you where it is at? It is, as I said, it is 1 week from publication. We started work in September 2015. We had our first meeting, physically meeting. We had the standards committee ready by June, I think, 2000. Pardon? We met in London, but we had the standards committee established by November 2015. We met by, I suppose, telephone, what other means if possible, as a standards committee. I think we had 2 physical meetings, or 3 physical meetings throughout the whole year we had to meet. And at those meetings we did a lot of work in trying to understand each other and comprehend. The first publication of the standard for consultation happened in November last year. It was available for a limited number of people to consult with. The second part publication, the revised standard, was published in April this year, and that was on the ICMS website for a month to allow everybody to review it. And we've had a number of comments back, and we've made some slight adjustments to the standard since. And I know from this week we have the draft ready for publication, for comment, and it then will go to publication. And by the beginning of July 2017, the standard will be published and ready.
Thank you, Jerry. Now I have a question, direct. How ICMS will affect your practitioners? Do you know?
Will affect my...
How ICMS will affect practitioners in your country?
No. Yeah, back on. Okay, so at the moment, I'll just give you a scenario of a project which we have at the currently ongoing at the moment, which is running nearly 24 hours. It's we have a client at the moment who's based in Australia. We're obviously their client representatives in Zurich. The site is in Lithuania, and the architect is based in New York. So as you can imagine, there's quite a mixed bag of not only languages, but also of standards and measurement and so on. What we're hoping to achieve is by using ICMS, we can try and streamline the whole system that everyone is speaking the same language, metaphorically. But what we're hoping that is with this project as a test pilot for ourselves to see how this system, this structure can be adapted into it, because at the moment it's the most I can tell you at the moment is it's a museum project with civil works as well. So it does tick quite a few boxes on this that will be quite beneficial from a structure which everyone is using. And regardless of the language, once it's translated into Lithuanian, we're hoping that the local architect and their design team will be able to input their data straight into it, so that we're all speaking the same language from the same structure. So I do think ICMS will be the structure that we so desperately need globally at the moment. And with the projects even throughout Europe, the different types of standards that we've come across, it's very difficult to get seamless cost reporting from one project to the next. So I do think this is the way forward, if I'm honest.
Thank you, Derek. Creon in Netherlands.
The same goes for the Netherlands. There are a lot of foreign investors in our country, and they ask cost overviewing in different ways, and it's not always the same, of course. Our codes are not mandatory, so the ICMS will also not be mandatory. But we will make like a translation tool between our code and the ICMS, like we did for the European Code of Measurement. We made also a translation tool, so that we can work in our own local standards, like we used to. But we try to translate them seamlessly to ICMS. So when a client comes, we can go to ICMS and then back to the country of origin, what they want. But most important for us is that we get some kind of transparency in our cost buildings, because now you can talk about cost of a window, of a facade or a roof, but you just don't know what's in it in the other country. And when you talk in the same classification code, you know what's in it, because everybody is the same. And that's very important, I think, for us as professionals, but maybe more for the clients, that they know what we are doing and know what we are saying, and not hearing different sounds from different professionals. Further on, I think benchmarking is for the Netherlands is very important, because we are very small, so the construction business is not that big. So it's nice to see abroad and to see how a bridge costs in Spain or in everywhere in the world. If you talk the same language, you can compare and you can benchmark your work. And I think the BIM and automation is very important. All kind of classifications are going around in BIM. And I hope it will come together in one code eventually. So that's the hope.
And Jerry in Ireland?
In Ireland, our national building element system is adopted by the government already. It has been adopted since 1975, and every public project must be reported on that system. So we feel there's no problem with the ICMS being adopted into that system, and we're going to be working on it in the next year to produce a document that will match our national building system, element system and structure system with the ICMS. I have been contacted and engaged by the government last month to do a project in comparing costs of residential buildings between Ireland and other European countries. And I contacted the ICMS people, and they gave me permission to use the standard in its current phase to help us with that project. And the government have agreed in Ireland to allow us use this process. And their view is, if this is going to be the international standard going forward, let us start now and get our information put into this format of reporting. So at this stage, I see no problem convincing our government to adopt this system. They see it as common sense. And I think it's important to remember that one of the members of the Standards Committee was a gentleman called Antonio Paparelli, who is on the Commission. He works in the construction end of the European Commission, and he joined the Standards Committee simply to show his support and the European Union's support for establishing international standards for cost reporting. Because, of course, in Europe, the biggest problem is that we have 27, 28 countries with completely different ways of reporting costs. And the European Union wants us all to work on the same language and the same methodology and report the same costs and the same information. So this particular standard gets their support, and they actually want us to move forward, I think, onto the next standard, which is to deal with life cycle costing.
Thank you, Jerry. And Justin in UK. And as Brexit will be a problem?
Brexit will be a problem when it happens, Pascal. So it's not going to have the immediate impact that President Trump had. So you cannot have a conference or a talk without talking about Brexit, apparently. So in the UK, how will it affect practitioners? That's a good question, Pascal. So I've put a slide up which indicates cost overrun on major projects around the world. It's amazing, isn't it? And I think, David, I think the top one is the Canadians win with 36,917% overrun. So, well done. That's quite an achievement. So, in my day job, I run a small quantity surveying business. We have about 20 staff, and we work on a number of projects, mainly in the UK, some overseas. My other job is I sit on RICS Governing Council, and I'm the global chair for the professional groups. When RICS joined the coalition, we signed a declaration with the ICMS colleagues, and this declaration said that we would implement the standard amongst our members. So I slightly disagree with what Creon said there, because as an RICS member, it will be obligatory for me to use the ICMS standard. So will it affect my practice? Yes, it will. Will it be a negative impact? Maybe to start with, but I also think in the long term it will be positive, because it will put my small business in the same pond as the big companies. So I will be reporting costs for my clients in exactly the same way that the big company of 30,000 employees are. Maybe that makes me better, because small is beautiful, isn't it? Hey, the bigger we get, the less perfect we get. So as a small business, we can report perfectly. Pascal's quite small and he's perfect. We can report perfectly. And Michelle is laughing. Hey, that's the first time I've seen Michelle laugh at an ICMS presentation. We've achieved something today. And welcome, Mark. So the other thing is how we report construction costs. We use computers to do that. Hey, we use software. So the biggest company for construction software is Autodesk. You've all heard of them? They do Revit. They're massive. They're the market leader by miles. I've met the head of their global strategy, Dominic, and he said, yes, we'll use it. Why wouldn't we use it? There is no other global standard for reporting construction costs. Why would we not use ICMS? So I think it will affect all of us, even if we don't like it, because the software companies will be starting to use classifications that follow the ICMS format. So inevitably, it will be, your company will be reporting in ICMS format. There's a quotation that I heard that Kennedy said, and he said, when the tide comes in, even the small boats rise. So yes, it will affect your business, but as a small practitioner such as Pascal, I think it will be a good thing.
Thank you. Thank you. To be honest, we are not in a trouble currently, because I've got the schedule number 2 for the ICMS, and it's very similar as Antec system. So no problem at this moment. So now we have 5 minutes to have some questions and answers. If someone would like to ask a question, go on. Est-ce que quelqu'un veut poser une question? Nothing? Ah, Mr. President, Mr. Tarmo Savolanen, President of the CWC, le président du Comité européen des économies.
One question: the standard will be published next July. After that, how is the support of the standard? The same coalition continues. And the other question was, they said it's BIM adapted. So is there any cooperation, for example, with Building Smart now or in the future in planning? Those two questions.
Thank you, Tarmo. So the two questions. So the first question was, what support is going to be offered for the standard? So I can speak from an RICS perspective. It gets launched in July in Vancouver. I'm attending that event. We will then start, as RICS, we're going to start producing the marketing collateral and a standard for our members. So ICMS is a high-level cost classification standard. What ICMS did not do is ICMS did not go to level 5. So level 5 is the more detailed construction costs. So as RICS, we're going to look at that. We're going to look at producing the level 5 standard for our members. It will follow ICMS. So Tom, your second question was about BIM. Is it BIM friendly? Yes, it is. So the standard setters, they spoke with the leaders in BIM, leaders in software technology for BIM. And it wasn't perfect. The first iteration was not perfect. It was ICMS was differentiating between structural and non-structural walls, for example. Now a computer can't make that difference. It can't do it. So a human being has to make that decision. So in that respect, ICMS was changed. So it was BIM friendly, BIM compliant.
Merci, Justin. Another question?
Bonjour, je suis Yvette Coquelin.
Hi, my name is Yvette Coquelin. I'm a member, honorary member of ATEC, and I would like to specify that all the work which is done currently is the result of the work which got done in the different countries as far as the construction cost and their estimation is concerned. In particular, the work that was done at the ATEC, and I want to emphasize this. There was Mr. Michel Moiret, who was one of the first ones to be part of the CEC, to be a CEC member. And with the INTEC method, I mean, that was already an important breakthrough at the time in the 1980s. And the evolution of this methodology, supported by the work that we did all together about measurement methods, enabled us to fine-tune the use of this INTEC methodology. And what is being done currently now, thanks to the work that was done, will lead to this nice evolution. I'm delighted to this international progress which is being made. And I would like to know whether the application, which is dedicated to public markets, will be adjusted to private markets now, knowing that we've got important problems sometimes on cost control in this area.
It works, yes. Yvette, she's an honorary member of ANTEC. She said ANTEC on the first step inside the CC, we started to have a code of measurement, remember. Now the next step is ICMS. She's very happy to see that. But the question is, does it a problem inside the public market to use ICMS, for example, for the cost control? Would you like to answer? In the public market sphere, is it possible quickly to use ICMS? Yeah? It depends on your country? Or?
they've heard enough from me, Pascal. Maybe someone else can answer that.
I think it's important to remember that there are 45 coalition members, and they represent a large number of professionals in the construction economics field, and all of them have bought in to adapting the ICMS. UNTEC have bought in to adapting and using ICMS. The Society of Chartered Surveyors, who I represent, will adopt it. So it will be used for cost reporting, cost planning. It has to come in. It makes no sense if we don't all agree to use it. That is why we are talking in each country that we represent. We talk to our national systems. The people on my standards committee are from Hong Kong, they're from Australia, they're from Canada, they're from different parts of Europe. We have a BIM guy who works from Greece. All of those people are going to be talking to their own national organisations to try and ensure that we adopt it. And I think I believe there will be samples within the standard. This is you only saw one page there. Well, there are 62 pages in this standard, and there is examples given to show you how to use it. We give definitions by little pictures of explanations of what substructures are to be, where do you allocate the basement, the walls of a basement, where do they happen? All of these things are agreed. And what's most important, I think, and I have not emphasized, because Tarmo is involved with the civil engineering business, which, as far as I'm aware, has no cost reporting standard to date. This will be the first time, I think, in any country I know where there will be an established system for reporting civil engineering costs. And there'll be essential items that you need to report, whether it's a railway or whether it's a tunnel. There are definitions, there are data you must provide, and there's cost breakdown data you must provide, which I think will be a great encouragement. So I think it will be, hopefully, will be enthusiastically taken up by everybody. And as I said, it's most important to remember we're not trying to replace your national system. We're simply giving you an aid to help you organise it in a simplified system that is clear to a client. Remember, the most important person at the end of the day is the guy who's going to pay for the building. The guy who has the money. He needs to understand clearly where his money is being spent. And that's the essential. We have to be able to explain ourselves clearly to the guy who pays the money.
You are right, Jerry. The right target is always the client. Bon, maintenant, je ne sais pas s'il y a encore une dernière question.
I don't know whether there's any final question. Okay, thank you very much for attending this workshop, and ICMS people will meet you in Vancouver and maybe next month in Paris.